Hey guys, we've spent the last 3 videos recapping the absolute roller coaster that was my days 1, 2, and 3 of the 2026 Scrabble Players Championship held in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Just to quickly recap, day 1 was outstanding, and day 2 started out really well too. But then things went south quickly in the afternoon of day 2, where I lost 3 games in a row handily. I was really upset, stormed out of the playing room, drove an hour away to clear my head, only for the freight trains to prevent me from sleeping overnight and for me to wake up on day 3 feeling so sleep deprived that I was sick and struggling to focus over the board. I lost 2 more games to bring myself to a 5-game losing streak and was feeling absolutely demoralized and like it was the end of the road. I had a crazy game where I was down over 100 points and I miraculously came back, which I showed you guys in the last video, and that led to me feeling a renewed sense of energy and a renewed sense of ability to come back, and I somehow channeled that and turned it into a 5-game winning streak. So we go from 9-2 to a 5-game losing streak to 9-7 to a 5-game winning streak to 14-7. We get some rest, and here we are, morning of day 4. The good news is I am on a 5-game winning streak. I'm feeling better than I have certainly in the last couple of days, but the bad news is I am still not that close to one of the key top 2 spots I'm going to need to secure a berth in the finals, and I'm going to need a great day, probably winning 6 out of my 7 on day 4 to have a chance at making the finals. So a tall order, but absolutely doable. I have a lot of tough opponents coming up. My first game is against none other than Ori Swift. I have a really challenging tactical game with him. That is not the game I'm going to be going over in today's video. I might on another video. I end up winning narrowly in a very tense endgame. And then I just keep winning after that. As you guys can see, I took down Evan Chester in round 23 and David Pearl in round 24, and then took down my friend and fellow top player, Joey Kravchik, in round 25. So that is a 4-0 morning, and all of a sudden, I have won 9 games in a row, and I am now sitting at 18-7. But it's not over yet. I am still probably going to need to win 2 of my last 3 to get to the final. And coming back from the lunch break, I have another very tough opponent in round 26, the other Joey, my longtime friend and sparring partner, Joey Mack. And we have a game that is, unfortunately for him, extremely lopsided. I draw absolutely everything. I actually started off the game with 4 natural bingos without even using a blank, and I ended up winning that game by about 250 points. Like I said, entirely due to luck. So now, all of a sudden, I have won 10 games in a row, guys. Pretty much unheard of, especially in that level of a field. And just absolutely remarkable given where I was just a day ago. And now I'm in a situation where all of a sudden, if I can just win one of my last 2 games, I should secure a berth in the finals. I play Joey Kravchik again in round 27. It is a really interesting, intense game. Unfortunately, I made a key mistake in the pre-endgame and ended up losing. A really tough loss to swallow, especially given it may have been potentially winnable. That is not the game I'm going to be looking at, though, in today's video. I'm going to be looking at my round 28 game. So going into round 28, the situation was chaos. There were 4 people who still had a chance to make the final. I'll show the standings as of that round on the screen here. So you've got Ori Swift in first, me in second, and then the Joeys, Joey Mack and Joey Kravchik in third and fourth. And the way they paired it was I was going to play Ori and the Joeys were going to play. So I basically control my own destiny. If I can beat Ori, I will be a lock to be in the final. Ori, by the way, is essentially locked in unless I beat him by an absolutely absurd amount, like well over 300 points. So he's not feeling too stressed. Now, the Joeys are in an interesting situation where they can both get in, but they don't control their own destiny. The winner of the Battle of the Joeys can get in if Ori beats me. Again, if I win, I'm locked. So the Joeys need to hope that Ori beats me. Essentially, the winner of Joey Mack versus Joey Kravchik is, for that game, going to be the biggest Ori Swift fan on the planet. And I absolutely have to take Ori down. If I can beat Ori in game 28, I'm going to be playing Ori in the best of 5 final on the next day. If I lose, that's it. My comeback run is over. It was still a valiant effort, but it wouldn't have been quite enough to get to the finals. So game 28 was going to be the one I had to take down. Could I do it? Let's see. We're going to look at the game right now. It was quite a game. Again, I absolutely must win this game. If I win, I'm in the finals. If I lose, I'm out. So you can imagine I was not feeling too great when Ori grabbed the blank slip, designated his blank, and opened with pending for a 76-point bingo. It's worth mentioning that ponding would have been a little bit better for Ori because pending takes two front hooks, spending and upending, so ponding would have been a bit more defensive. Ori mentioned that he wasn't 100% sure of ponding's validity, so given that, it makes total sense that he would play this and not take any chances. I was especially not feeling great given my opening rack was AADIUUW, so as I've said many times, we all know how bad UW is, and UUW is certainly even worse. So here, I make the decision to exchange. I could have played through this. I could have played WUD and upending for 24 points. The computer has them extremely close. I ultimately decided that AAIU was going to just slow me down way too much, especially being at this kind of early deficit, and that I was better off exchanging down to AD and hoping to bingo on my next turn, and leaving the spending and upending hooks open in the long term for a comeback. The computer, as you can see, has my exchange extremely close with several other exchanges and playing through with WUD. An interesting upside to WUD is that it does fork the board, creating dual bingo lines for 7s down the B column from B1 to B7 and B9 to B15. This is an aspect of the play that I didn't actually consider over the board and may have actually swayed me into making it. It was pointed out by my good friend Josh Sokol later. But either way, I exchanged, and given what happened, I am glad I exchanged, as we'll see. But my chances here already, guys, pretty poor. 16% according to the engine, and only one turn in. Not the way you want to start a must-win game. I may have dodged a bit of a bullet on Ori's next play, as with a constant heavy rack, he played pre-tell for 16 points to offload tiles and block the blank E of pending. However, he had the cool extension of per pending available, which would have scored 45 points. It would have kept a much worse lead, regardless of what his 6th tile was, but even so, probably too many points to pass up, so fortunate for me that Ori didn't make this play. And also fortunate for me that keeping AD, I managed to draw a bingo despite pulling the Z out of the bag. I have one playable 8 here, and I quickly find it and play it, Diazonon for 72 points through the second end of pending. And I'm still in bad shape here, guys. I'm down 20 points. It's Ori's turn, and I'm creating a big scoring spot for him on the top middle triple, but my win chances are now up from about 16% to just over 30%, so I'm definitely feeling a little bit more hopeful. Fortunately for me, Ori has the X, but doesn't have anything amazing with it. He doesn't have an overlap next to Diazonon, and he also doesn't have the ability to play something like Nyx from the end of pending for over 50. He still finds a nice play, though, Murex for 36 points to go up by over 50. And I have a bit of an awkward rack here, pulling 2 Bs, 2 Ts, and a Y. And I pretty quickly hone in on my idea, getting rid of the Bs, one of the Ts, and the Y by playing either Tubby for 26 through the U of Murex or Tabby for 24 through the A of Diazonon. I eventually decide to sacrifice 2 points and play Tabby, mostly because I don't want to play Tubby and leave Ori the big hotspot next to Diazonon. I figure a lot of the times he's going to have a 4-tile play at the top middle triple that could score upwards of 40 points, and even being down, I don't want to allow him to take advantage of that spot and pad his lead. So I play Tabby to minimize significantly the damage he can do in that spot. I also figure that Tabby protects the D of Diazonon as a bingo lane, as by blocking not only the brunt of the triple word score hotspot, it also blocks Ori from playing horizontally through the eye of Diazonon, which would be a very defensive option for him, and it makes it a lot more expensive for him to block the D of Diazonon. By that I mean he's going to have to score a lot less if he wants to block it. And the D is a really good bingo line for me, especially holding a surplus of vowels and the E, as a lot of 8-letter words end in ED. So the computer actually does want me to grab the extra point here and play Tubby. I'm not sure I personally agree. I think Tabby is a very sensible move. Ori here plays a free for 32 points, opening the board a bit, but probably figuring it's his best scoring play by far, and he isn't up enough to justify keeping this board tight. I have a poor draw after Tabby, pulling 5 vowels out of the bag, and I find a cool play here, tie for 18 points. It's a bit of a fish as I'm only playing 2 vowels, but if I can get rid of 2 1-pointers and score 18 points and balance my rack, I'm pretty happy. I also felt that ACEIT wasn't a great leave, but it was also a bit more tolerable than usual, given I now have an open R and a Freet, and an open D in Diazonon, 2 strong synergistic consonants to help offset the vowel heaviness of my leave. Ori responds with a very nice play, Dagwood to the D of Diazonon, scoring well, burning tiles to accelerate the game with a lead, and also exhausting a ton of space, including that D in Diazonon I was hoping to keep open. Thankfully for me, I draw a bingo, and it's not through the D, Urdicate through the R of a Freet for 70 points. It's my only bingo, and I must play it, although still, just like with Diazonon, despite getting a bingo down and nearly tying the game, I am in poor shape. You'll see my win chances here are just over 30%, because I'm giving Ori a massive hook. Either Urticated or Urticates with a D and 4 S's unseen could yield significant scoring potential to him on his next play. And that's exactly what he did. He had the D and played Dino for 35 points. And I got a very fortunate draw, which I was super happy to see. ACEORSV. I quickly slapped down Overcast for 92 points, taking my first lead of the game. And now for the first time, I am feeling good. I'm like, wow, I might actually win this game. I had a horrible start. I was starting to not feel too good about my chances, but I might actually win this game. I've still got a great chance of making the finals. That would be quite something, wouldn't it? But I had to make sure I didn't get too far ahead of myself because I'm only up 53 points, and Ori was certainly going to put up a fight. This game was far from over. He responds with Foe for 29 points, and I draw a bit clunkily, pulling 5 vowels and a K. At first, I think of Lucan for 24 points to the end of Dino, which looks pretty solid. It balances my rack nicely and exhausts some space, which now that I have a small lead is not a bad thing. But then I spot my star play, the fairly difficult to see Equale for 46 points. It is quite dangerous. It opens a big triple line on the right where Ori could easily get a big play or a bingo, but this is way too many points for me to justify giving up, and it puts me far enough ahead with a 70-point lead that even if Ori does bingo there, it's going to be a close game, and with a good draw, I may be able to outrun him in a lot of cases. Good news and bad news for me. Good news is Ori doesn't have a bingo on the right-hand side. Bad news is Ori does still have a bingo. 62 points for Surnamer. It's not a super high scoring bingo, but it's still a bingo, and it gets him right back into this game. Thankfully for me here, I have another very easy turn. I've been able to play this game quickly, which is good, as I could tell it was likely going to come down to a close pre-endgame. I slapped down Wei for 41 points, easily my best play here, scoring, offloading some clunky tiles, and taking that line away from Ori. He responds with J for 39 points under the D and the A of Dagwood, getting him once again to within 10 points. And now comes my most critical turn of the game so far. I'm in a very good position, but there are absolutely ways I could lose this game. I think I had about 12 minutes left going into this position, and I spent about 11 of those minutes debating what to do. At some point, the live stream was showing a distant camera view of my game with Ori as the game between the Joeys on board one that I mentioned earlier had completed, with Joey Kravchik eking out a win in crazy fashion in the endgame. And I think at some point the camera was panned to our game, and I was deep in thought. I was iterating on paper, which the commentators could see, which gave away that it was a close game. And when I was doing that, if you guys were wondering, this was the position I was facing. I'm up 10 points. I have the blank, but I also have the Q. And there's 4 tiles in the bag, as you can see on the right, a bunch of A's, EHILOSTV. So I immediately see I can score a lot with my Q. I can play Coin through the U of Murex for 48 points, which looks awesome. It's going to put me up 58. I'm saving ES blank. So what's the issue here? The issue here is that it empties the bag. And if Ori bingoes out, I'm dead. Sure, I'll be able to outrun anything Ori has that's not a bingo, but if he bingos out, like I said, the game is over on the spot. And you might be thinking, all right, well, this board is exhausted. Where can Ori bingo out? Well, he can bingo guys to the left of Wei. I saw several potential words he could have after my iteration in that pool. Specifically, I saw that he could have Altheas if AIOV is in the bag, and he could have Violets if AAAH were in the bag. It's very unlikely, but not impossible. Specifically, the odds of Altheas are 3 in 330, and the odds of Violets are 1 in 330. So there is a combined 4 in 330, which is somewhere between 1 and 2% chance that Ori bingos out and steals this game for me in heartbreaking fashion if I do play Coin. Now, a 326 out of 330 chance to win is pretty darn good, and in most cases I'd be very happy with that, but given how much was on the line in this game, again, I have to win at all costs, and the fact that I still had some time, I was going to see if there was a way I could win even more. So that's when I went back to the drawing board and started asking myself, okay, what happens if I block that threat first? I have to be very careful, because if I block the threat of Altheas and Violets, I'm going to have to sacrifice a ton of points. So that could leave me vulnerable to being outrun elsewhere on the board if Ori has another big scoring play. Remember, I'm only up 10 points going into this turn. The immediate question I had to ask myself is if I play over here, the first thing I thought of was actually just plunking the Q here and playing QI for 11, was could Ori instead bingo through the M of Murex? After all, if he also has 8-letter bingo threats there, then there's really no use in blocking the right, as he could just as easily bingo over there. So I might as well take my points and just pray he doesn't have something on the right. So I spent like another 5 minutes here literally writing down every possible rack, which took a while, guys. There were still 4 in the bag, through the M and permuting them, and eventually exhaustively determining through iteration. Again, this is probably what you guys saw me doing if you were squinting on the live stream in the background when I was vigorously scribbling on paper. I was like writing out all these possible racks. I did eventually come to the correct conclusion that Ori did not have a single possible bingo through the M. So then it's like, okay, well, doesn't QI just win? Again, no, because I'm only going up 21 guys after this, and I'm keeping all 1-point tiles. There are definitely ways, especially if Ori has a good play with his H, that he could outscore me in the endgame, because even having the blank, there's nowhere for me to bingo here, and with all these 1-pointers, again, there's nowhere great to score. This is not a comfortable position to be going into at all. So then I was like, okay, what if I actually keep the Q? It seems really weird, but remember, I have a big Q play right now. So what if I make a play that preserves a big Q play for my next turn? Even if I score a little bit now, if I can get a 40 to 50 point Q play down on my next turn, that will surely be enough to outrun Ori. So that's when I had the idea of playing the word 1 and Oi, which is what I ultimately did. This scores 16, so that puts me up 26 points, which is a appreciable lead, and it saves plays through the U of Murex. Any number of words, such as quits here, would get me an easy 46 points. And I'm often going to even draw something making spending. Something like squint or squire or squill over here is going to get me close to 60. Now, there's also the problem of what if Ori blocks that? He might see that threat and try to make a play to the L of Pretel or through the U of Murex. Good question. I figured in most of those cases, I save quips here as a backup, which should be enough to outrun. The only caveat is there are some cases where this could give Ori the E-hook for equips, so I had to go through a couple possibilities and make sure that there was no way Ori could make a blocking play on the bottom, taking out my plays through Murex, in a way that would also leave him a big outplay to come back after quips. And I was not able to generate a situation where that would be the case, or where at least it would be enough to outrun me. There were a few cases I thought of where Ori could score and block on the bottom left, but quips followed by an outplay with equips would still lead to me winning by a single-digit margin. So as far as I could tell, the play of 1, which I made with, like I said, I think between 1 or 2 minutes on my clock left, won 100% of the time. And according to the Woogle's computer tool, guys, lo and behold, I was correct. 1 is the best play and the only play the computer generates that truly wins 100.0% of the time. So a super clutch play here by me in one of the most pivotal, if not the most pivotal position of the tournament so far. However, there is one tiny catch I feel obligated to mention. My good friend Josh Sokol, who I mentioned earlier, found one potential situation in which 1 could actually lose. It's still almost certainly the correct play, as this situation comes up so rarely, but let me show you guys how it could come about. After 1, there are a few specific racks Ori could have where his correct play is the stunning Moshav through the disconnected M and Murex and V of Overcast. This is a super tough play to see and not a possibility I generated over the board. One such situation is if Ori has this rack, AAEHLOS. Josh ran the Macondo engine and confirmed that in this position, Ori's optimal play would be Moshav. And then, if he plays this and also draws the T out of the bag, that is another necessary condition, guys, then he will win. Because after this, I'll have AIIQSV blank. And here's the problem. If I play quips for 37, Ori now does beat me by going out with Tella and equips by 5 points, 421 to 416. If I avoid creating equips and play cheese and dogwoods instead, it's a valiant effort, but it also doesn't work because he has teal for 20 above 1, making toy N an A, and now Ori wins by 6, 413 to 407. Trying to block teal here will not be productive for me, as Ori can also go out with leapt through the P of Pretel. So in this extremely specific line, I would be sunk. But again, this only happens if we go back, if Ori has this rack or one of a couple very similar racks and plays Moshav and then draws the tile out of the bag that gives him that specific rack, the T, the E, the L, and the A. And Josh calculated the chance of this happening, and it is ridiculously low. According to Josh, the odds of me losing by playing one and then Ori having a rack where Moshav is optimal and then drawing AELT is 5 in 1,320 or 1 in 264. So if Josh's analysis is complete and fully accurate, which knowing Josh, I trust it is, then one wins not 100% of the time, but 263 out of 264. So not perfect, but pretty darn close. And it's unclear whether there is a play in this position that truly wins for me 100% of the time with optimal play by Ori. It's well outside the scope of this video. It may even be outside the scope of Macondo or any existing Scrabble engine to fully determine that. That is the beauty of Scrabble, guys. As I've said so many times, there are positions that are so complicated where we truly sometimes cannot know the correct answer, and this all-important position may be one of them. In any case, I think given the circumstances, one was an outstanding and super clutch play, and it is clearly better, we can say for sure, than playing through the U of Murex, which is very tempting, and I think a lot of folks would do quickly. So I'm very glad here. I took a deep breath, took my time to iterate and get this position either right or very nearly right, and most importantly, took the time to block the threats on the right, as playing through the U and then having Ori bingo out on the right would have been an absolutely catastrophic and crushing way to lose this game. Needless to say, Ori did not have a bingo on the right, though he was close. He was only one S away from having Altheas. Here he plays Halal for 24 points, which is tied for his best play. He actually can still win this game if he draws the blank, but unbeknownst to him, of course, I have the blank, so realistically, he doesn't have winning chances here. I respond with by far my best endgame play of Squill, just making sure at this point I don't accidentally circle the wrong tile on the blank slip or something. I do double check and triple check that it is really an L, and I commit this play. And here Ori actually challenges, which is very reasonable. Remember, spread doesn't matter for Ori. He's getting in the final unless I beat him by like 350, which is not going to happen regardless. So he decides to just keep me honest here and challenge, because if somehow Squill is not a word and it comes off the board, then he will be able to win this game. So he challenges, it is a word, just for the comedic effect, he challenges spending as well. Of course, we both know quite well that spending is a word, but pretty hilarious and good-natured of him to do that. But realistically, at this point, we knew what was going to happen. We both knew deep down that Squill and, of course, spending were both words, and we were both perfectly happy here. Like I said, I was just thrilled to have come away with this win, especially given the rough start, and to be in the finals. And Ori, like I said, didn't have that much on the line here. He was going to make it regardless of whether he won or lost, barring a ridiculously large loss, and that wasn't what happened here. So we were both in a good mood, knowing that the outcome of the game was decided. And after I play my outplay of Vogs, which is what I did very quickly, and secured a 468 to 377 victory, it was going to be me and Ori in the best of 5 finals on the next day, after an absolutely wild roller coaster of a 4-day, 28-game main event. So that is going to do it, guys, for this video, and that is going to do it for this series of recaps on the first 4 days of this absolutely ridiculous tournament. And you guys already know what happened in the finals. I already posted my in-depth recaps of those games before I even got to this series. So I hope you enjoyed this very extended 9-video, you could say, series of recaps on the Scrabble Players Championship. I may cover a few of my other games in due time, or maybe some games involving other players, but that's going to be it for my more formal and structured review of the Scrabble Players Championship. And again, guys, what an absolute whirlwind of a tournament. It took me so long to mentally and just emotionally recover from these ups and downs. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this final video here. What a crazy game, and what an intense finish, and what a super clutch game for me too, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I made 0.2 mistakes this game, which is absolutely absurd even for my standards, let alone in such a high-stress game. So what a crazy clutch way to clinch the spot, and what a finals it was, as you guys have all seen. So yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Thanks again so much for all the support of these videos and everything you guys have done to support me both before, during, and after this tournament. I really, really do appreciate it. Thanks again, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all soon for more videos. Bye-bye.